Welcome back to Up Front. The governor's task force on climate change has just issued its new report. It contains more than 50 ideas for addressing climate change, including creating an Office of Environmental Justice, developing a statewide electric transportation plan, creating a flood resilience plan, and starting a public education campaign on climate change. Lieutenant Governor Mandela Barnes led the 32-member task force, and he joins us now on Up Front. So, Lieutenant Governor, thank you for being with us today. And I do want to get to climate change in just a minute. But first, we do have some news of the day, really, to ask you about. The governor sent that letter to Republicans talking about what he calls a compromise bill for coronavirus, things he thinks both sides can agree on. Do you think this will go anywhere?
Well, I think that it should go somewhere. I certainly think our first set of proposals should have gone somewhere. It's unfortunate that after over 9 months of people crying out for some sort of relief, they've relatively gotten nothing from their legislature. And it shouldn't be about politics. This is about improving the quality of life for Wisconsinites. And I hope that they will answer the call, especially going into this holiday season.
And I want to get to this climate change report because this is a wide-ranging report, 55 solutions to reach carbon-free goals by 2050. This spans 9 sectors. And you talk about racial justice in the report. Explain why racial justice is an issue with climate change.
Yeah, well, we're leading with environmental justice. And unfortunately, there are racial groups that bear the brunt of climate change more than others. That is the harsh reality of an even harsher reality that we're dealing with. We look at communities that have been impacted, not just by climate change, but by the things that also cause climate change, whether it's coal burning power plants that spew toxins into the air in low income communities, Black and brown neighborhoods where children are growing up with disproportionate rates of respiratory illnesses. That is a huge problem. We look at our Native communities that are constantly threatened by loss of wildlife habitat, loss of areas to grow wild rice because of contamination, some of the same impacts that come as a result of climate change when we see water levels in the lakes continue to rise as well. So there are so many issues that are directly correlated along racial lines that haven't been necessarily brought to the forefront before. And too often communities don't know that climate change is dealing them the hand that it is. And we want to make sure that people are well informed about the hazards that they're facing.
Have you been talking to Republicans throughout this process? I mean, how do you get them on board with any of these changes?
Yeah, as you mentioned before, the people that we brought together to put the task force into action, there were a bipartisan, group of legislators who were part of this task force. We had industry groups that have traditionally not supported Democrats in the past who were part of this task force as well. And one of the most amazing things is the number of agriculture groups who came out and wrote a letter in support of the task force recommendations. So we've been very intentional about bringing the state together with this task force to do the work that's necessary to chart a path for Wisconsin's clean energy future, also while retaining our natural beauty, our natural resources, and making this state a leader. And the recommendations from the task force, they don't come with a partisan lens. They come with the lens of reality. And people who live in Republican represented districts, as well as Democratic represented districts, all have a path forward in this report. There
is some criticism to this, though, that it could hurt Wisconsin manufacturers with higher energy costs. So we know how important manufacturing is to the state. Respond to that.
I'm not sure if that's actually accurate, because our utility companies were even a part of this task force. And honestly, utility companies in the state of Wisconsin made their commitments to 100% renewable energy before the state of Wisconsin did, before our administration came into office. And with the declining cost of solar and wind-powered energy, that's not a very accurate claim that's being made about higher costs of energy. In fact, costs will be lower. And once we get to a critical mass as well, it will be infinitely cheaper to produce solar and wind energy, especially when we're doing it here in the state.
Another question I've heard, because anytime something like this comes up, really, no matter what it is, the question is always, what is the overall cost at the end of the day? Is there any kind of number that you're looking into?
I'll tell you, the cost is lower than the cost that we're paying right now We send over $1 billion as consumers out of state to pay for energy that is generated from fossil fuels. We don't drill for oil in the state of Wisconsin. There are no hills with coal in them. And so we're sending money all the way out of state to generate energy. And we are also dealing with mitigation and remediation because of these natural disasters that Wisconsin is subject to. We're seeing 100-year storms happen every other year, some instances every year. Flooding that is wiping out communities. It is destroying our infrastructure that we do have to rebuild. You have families in urban, suburban, and rural parts of this state who have to make the tough decision of whether it is affordable to rebuild or even if it's possible to rebuild. So what we're doing is making sure that we are making the necessary investments to make Wisconsin resilient and to make Wisconsin much more productive.
Lieutenant Governor, I do have one last question for you, because we know that the Biden administration has said that this will be climate change, a big priority for them. I know you said you've talked to the transition team a little bit about this, but how do you make climate change a big issue in 2021, considering there's still the pandemic, there's still such an immediate crisis going on that's really, dominating everything we do right now?
I'm so glad you asked that question because this state, like many other states in this country, is dealing with the economic fallout as a result of the coronavirus pandemic. People are going to need jobs. And prior to the pandemic, we saw job creation in wind and solar accelerate faster than job creation in most other sectors of our economy. So this is a chance for us to not just protect the health of us as individuals, protect the health of our environment, but also to protect our economic health, to give us opportunities to create jobs where those jobs don't exist anymore here in the state of Wisconsin.
Lieutenant Governor, thank you.
Thank you.
I also asked him if he'll get the COVID vaccine when it's available and how to boost immunization rates in the Black community. You'll find that on the upfront section of WISN.com. Coming up, though, what the next legislative session might bring in way of election reform. And later, Wisconsin Supreme Court justices receiving threats for doing their jobs.